The self-help industry is an industry of mammoth proportions. Every year, billions of dollars are funneled off into the pockets of other people in exchange for books, workshops, video courses, webinars, therapy sessions, diet plans, and thousands of other products, all promising to hold the keys to the promised land, a better you. Maybe that's why the self-help industry is so insanely lucrative, because any expense, no matter how great, can be easily viewed as an investment in yourself. It's easy for people to justify the spending of thousands of dollars on self-help, because at the end of the day, you are your most valuable resource, right? When it comes to finding a better you, no cost is too great. No commitment is too taxing. After all, you do want to get better, don't you? This all seems pretty solid, and it is based somewhat in truth, but the problem is this. The entire multi-billion-dollar self-help industry, from sales training to diet plans, is based, in part, upon a lie. This is a lie which, if people stop believing, would send the entire industry into an uproar. This is a lie which some self-help gurus are dependent upon for their very way of life. This is the lie of getting better. Hey guys, Sanjo here, and I do want you to understand where I'm coming from. My entire life since I was 15 years old has been dedicated to the idea of getting better. I have spent thousands of dollars, attended numerous seminars, even relocated across the world for 2 years for a religious mission. I have plowed through more books than I can possibly count. I have spent hours and hours pouring through internet videos and articles, all for the purpose of trying to become a better person. I've made this the overarching and all-consuming passion of my life, and I've done this for almost 15 years. And after all this time, after all this money and effort, here's what I've learned. There is never going to be this moment when you have completely and definitively gotten better. Now, this sounds kind of depressing and possibly a little bit clickbait, but I really do mean what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is that there is never going to be a magical moment somewhere off in the distance where you finally solve all your problems, where you finally transcend all of life's challenges and become completely and fully satisfied. There will never come a time where you will finally work through all of your issues and become happy forever with no more hardship. If this is the end you're looking for, you will be able to be hoodwinked again and again. You will never stop spending money. You will never stop looking for that perfect job. You will never stop looking for that perfect person. Your life will be one long chain of unfinished programs and projects. Your relationships will be one-sided and disposable, because everything and everyone will become a means to an end, just another trick to try in your search for complete happiness, and they will all ultimately fail that test. I think probably pretty much everybody gets caught up, even if just subconsciously, in chasing this moving horizon called happily ever after. I think one reason why we do this is because most of us fall into the notion that our adversities and challenges are the real problems in our lives. We tend to focus on outward circumstances as if they were at fault for ruining our happiness, when the problem isn't the adversity at all. See, the thing ruining our happiness isn't adversity, it's our relationship to adversity. Now, as of now, I am not convinced of the notion that it's possible to completely transcend all suffering and unhappiness in this life. I personally tend to believe that there is a certain amount of suffering that is just par for the course. But I do think that most people suffer so much more than is necessary, because of our tendency to run away from suffering instead of learning to accept and live peaceably alongside it. Think of it this way. Imagine you have this roommate that you have to live with. This roommate will represent suffering in life. Now, this roommate is very difficult to be around. He takes your things without asking, he doesn't clean up after himself, and just kind of generally makes a nuisance of himself. Now, considering that this is a roommate that you cannot simply move away from, which is indeed an unfortunate characteristic of suffering, it just kind of seems to have a way of finding you wherever you try to hide. But with this in mind, you have a few different options. First, you can try to avoid the roommate. You can stay in your room all day and hide your possessions to try to stop him from ever using them. However, this will not stop him from leaving your apartment messy, or from knocking at your door, or demanding to talk to you when you're in the kitchen. Basically, you cannot really escape him, so we can rule this notion out. Option number 2 is to try and fight him over everything. If he doesn't do his dishes, or tries to maintain hour-long conversations about movies you have never seen and never will, you can yell at him over it. This is definitely an option, but you'd better be prepared to yell a lot. Most people don't change their behavior simply because somebody demands it of them. And even if he wanted to, it's doubtful that he could ever change his life thoroughly enough to avoid ever annoying you again. More likely than not, he is just going to yell back. But you do have a third option. You can learn to live alongside him by working on your relationship. Get to know him. Ask him about what he likes. When you feel that he is receptive, share some things about yourself. Find some activity that both of you enjoy and could do together. Now, honestly, this guy may never become your best bud, and he will probably always annoy you at least a little bit. But now that you've learned to live alongside him, he becomes a lot more manageable. Who knows, maybe he'll even start washing his dishes. But even if he doesn't, the important thing is that you are learning to accept him and live with him, which will greatly reduce your own suffering, regardless of what he does or doesn't do. I don't personally think it's possible in this mortal world to heal yourself out of all sadness and pain, but I do think that those who learn to find joy in where they're at can greatly reduce their suffering. Self-improvement isn't a destination, it's a never-ending journey. Happiness isn't on the other end of some achievement. It's in the adventure of going from point A to point B, and in the knowledge that your life is going in a good direction. I'm not saying that self-improvement doesn't help or that you can't be constantly getting better. Of course you can. I'm just saying that there is no real endpoint where all of your problems will go away. That's not the point of self-improvement. How would you feel if you paid for a cruise and immediately after setting foot on board, the captain announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to inform you that since this port is both the beginning and ending point of our journey, we have technically already arrived at our destination, and so we would like you to please exit the boat as the cruise is now over." Of course, you would be outraged, because you understand that the point of a cruise is not to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. We enjoy cruises because they're all about the journey, and our lives are the same way. I'm still working on myself, but I understand that it's a task that will never be finished, and I'm learning more and more to enjoy the ride. Thanks for watching. Peace and blessings.